The night was silent, cold, and endless. A lonely man walked across the ruins of an old alien city. The buildings were broken like skeletons of giants. Shadows stretched across the cracked ground. The man carried only a small lantern and a bag of tools. His clothes were torn, his shoes thin, and his face tired. He was a human far from home, searching for anything to survive. He had been moving from one dead world to another. Every planet gave him only scraps, broken wires, and old machines. Sometimes he found food cans hidden in the dust. Sometimes nothing at all. He was hopeless but alive, and that was enough to keep walking. But tonight something felt different. The air was heavier, the silence deeper, as if the ruins themselves were holding their breath. He stepped inside a broken hall with high stone pillars. His lantern lit the walls, showing carvings of strange alien symbols. They looked like warnings, like eyes staring at him from the dark. Then he heard it, a sound soft and weak, almost too small to notice. It was not the wind, not the creak of stone. It was a voice, a child's voice, whispering in pain. The human froze, his heart beating hard. He listened again. The sound came from deeper inside. A small cry, broken, afraid, he followed, every step echoing like thunder in the empty hall. The light from his lantern shook as his hands trembled. He turned a corner, and there, under the faint glow of a broken skylight, he saw it. A child, an alien child chained to a tall stone pillar. The chains were not metal but glowing with strange blue energy. They hummed like living things, burning against the child's skin. The child was thin, its arms and legs weak. Its chest rose and fell with heavy effort. Strange tubes ran into its body, glowing faintly. Its eyes were large, shining with tears. It looked half alive, half machine. It looked hopeless, and yet it looked directly at the man. The human could not move, his breath caught in his throat. He had seen many cruel things in his wandering life, but nothing like this, a child chained like a prisoner. Left alone to suffer, the child tried to speak. Its voice cracked, words broken. "Help me," it whispered. The sound pierced the human's heart like a blade. Before he could answer, another sound filled the hall, a whisper, cold and powerful, echoing from everywhere. Not from the child, not from the air, but from the walls themselves. The voice was ancient, heavy with authority. It said only one thing: yours if you want. But the law is watching. The human froze again, his lantern shook in his hand. He looked around but saw no one. The shadows were thick, but nothing moved. Yet he felt eyes on him, many eyes, unseen but sharp, watching every breath, every choice. He stepped closer to the child. The alien eyes followed him, desperate, pleading. The chains glowed brighter as if warning him to stay back. He reached out a hand but stopped. His mind raced. If he touched those chains, something terrible could happen. If he freed the child, maybe the law, whatever it was, would strike. The voice repeated again, softer this time: yours if you want. But the law is watching, the human whispered to himself. What law? Whose law? And why a child? But there was no answer. Only silence, only the weak breathing of the alien child. He remembered his own past, war, hunger, the time he was abandoned by those who promised safety. He remembered being a boy himself, hiding from soldiers, waiting for someone to help. No one came for him then, and now here stood a child chained to a pillar, waiting. He could turn away, he could walk out and live another day, or he could stay and risk everything. The child coughed, a painful metallic sound. Its chest lights flickered weakly. Its eyes closed for a moment, then opened again. Tears rolled down its cheeks, glowing faintly in the dark. It did not beg with words anymore, it begged with silence, with its eyes. The human felt something in his chest tighten. He had been hopeless for so long, but now facing this fragile life, he felt a spark, a dangerous spark of feeling, a dangerous spark of hope. He stepped even closer. The chains pulsed as if alive. The whisper in the hall grew louder. Choose, human, choose. And in that moment he knew. This was no simple encounter. This was a test, a trap, or maybe a destiny. The ruins were not dead. The shadows were not empty. Something powerful was here, waiting to judge him, and whatever he chose, his life would never be the same again. The lantern flickered, the air grew colder. The alien child looked at him one last time, and the man reached out his hand, trembling, knowing that once he touched those chains, there would be no turning back. The man's hand hovered over the glowing chains. The alien child's weak breaths filled the silence of the hall. His lantern flickered nervously. shadows crawling across the broken walls. The strange whisper from before still echoed faintly. Yours if you want. But the law is watching. The words haunted him. They pressed into his mind like cold steel. Every part of him wanted to run, to escape, but his legs would not move. He stood trapped between fear and compassion. The child's eyes were wide, shining, begging. It was too weak to speak again. But the message was clear. Please don't leave me. The human felt his chest tighten, memories rising uninvited. He remembered when he was a child hiding in the ruins of war. He remembered the hunger, the fear, the silence when no one came. Now this alien child was in the same place, and he was the only one standing there. He thought of the law, whatever it was. The voice sounded ancient, powerful, like something that ruled over stars. If he broke the chains, would soldiers come? Would machines hunt him? Would he be punished, tortured, killed? A single choice could end his life, but walking away would end the child's. His hand trembled. He reached closer. The blue energy crackled against his skin. It burned like cold fire. He pulled back, gasping. The chains were alive. They wanted him to fear. They wanted him to stop. The voice spoke again. Deeper now. Leave it, human. It is forbidden. The sound made the stones shake. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling. But he clenched his fist and forced his feet to step forward. His eyes locked on the child's. They were not human eyes, but they held the same pain. The same hope, he whispered, almost to himself. I will not walk away. The words echoed strangely, as if the ruins themselves were listening. He dropped his bag of tools to the floor. Metal clinked against stone. He searched quickly, pulling out cutters, wires, a plasma torch. His hands moved fast, but his heart pounded. Every second he expected something to strike him from the dark. He pressed the torch against the glowing chain. A high-pitched scream filled the hall. Not from the child, not from him, but from the chain itself. The energy flared, throwing sparks. The child cried out in fear. But the man whispered, Hold on. I'm here. The chain resisted. It was no normal lock. It pushed back, a living force. The torch dimmed, the cutter cracked. Sweat ran down his face, his breath heavy. He felt the invisible eyes watching sharper now, as if the whole galaxy leaned closer to see his choice. At last, the first chain snapped. The blue energy hissed and vanished into smoke. The child gasped, its arm falling free. It looked at him with disbelief, as if freedom was something it had never imagined. But the victory was short. The walls groaned. The floor shook from above. Stone dust rained down. Something had awakened. Something had been waiting. The voice thundered again, furious now. You dare, human? The law forbids this. The sound shook his bones. Yet he did not stop. He moved to the second chain. Torch in hand, his body ached, his hands burned. But he kept going, another snap, another flash of smoke. The child leaned weakly against the pillar. Breathing faster, then a faint sound rose from the distance. Metallic, sharp, echoing through the ruins. Footsteps, not human footsteps. They were heavier, mechanical. The guardians were coming. The law was sending its watchers. The man's chest filled with panic. He had little time. He pressed the torch against the final chain. The heat roared. Sparks burned his arm. He gritted his teeth and pushed harder. The chain screamed, then broke. The child collapsed into his arms, weightless and trembling. For a brief moment there was silence. Only the sound of the child's faint breathing. Only the warmth of fragile life in his arms. He had done it. He had chosen. But the silence broke with a new sound. A low mechanical growl from the darkness at the end of the hall. Red eyes appeared, one pair, then two, then 10. Tall machines stepped forward, their armor shining with alien symbols. Their voices were cold, metallic, united. Violation detected. Human guilty. The man's heart raced. He pulled the child close and looked around. No door, no path, only shadows and enemies. But his choice had already been made. There was no turning back. He would carry this child. He would protect it no matter what. The lantern flickered one last time before dying. The hall sank into darkness. Only the red eyes of the machines glowed, and the weak breath of the alien child against his chest. The man whispered, They will have to kill me first. And then he ran, carrying the child into the unknown as the machines followed. The ruins shook with the judgment of the law. The machines advanced with slow, heavy steps. Their red eyes glowed like fire in the darkness. The ruined hall trembled with each metallic footfall. The human tightened his grip on the alien child. The child's breathing was weak. its chest glowing faintly with broken light. There was no time to think, no time to plan. Only one thought burned in his mind: run. He turned and sprinted down the crumbling corridor. The child clung to him with trembling arms. Behind him, the machines roared, their voices cold and sharp. Violation detected, capture the human, preserve the subject. Their steps thundered like hammers. The air shook with the sound of ancient weapons charging. The man's lantern had died, but he knew the ruins like instinct. He leapt over fallen stones, dodged broken walls. Every breath was heavy, but he kept running. The child coughed weakly against his chest. Each sound tore at his heart. He whispered, "Hold on. I've got you." But inside he wondered how long either of them could last. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. High pillars stretched into the shadows. Alien statues with blank faces watched from the walls. The machines entered behind him, their eyes casting red light across the hall. A beam of energy shot past, striking the stone near his head. The wall exploded into dust and sparks. He stumbled but did not fall. His arms locked tight around the fragile child. He spotted a narrow passage to the left. Without hesitation, he dashed inside. The path twisted sharply, forcing him to squeeze through. The machines tried to follow, but their bodies were too large, their movements heavy. Their metal claws scraped the stone, sparks raining for the first time. He gained distance, but the relief did not last. The passage opened into a lower tunnel. The air was damp, filled with the smell of rust and mold. Water dripped from the ceiling. The ground was slippery with slime. The child stirred weakly, whispering something in a broken voice. "Not safe, watchers. Everywhere." The words sent a chill through him. If the child was right, the law had more eyes than just the machines. He pressed onward deeper into the tunnel. The sound of machines faded behind him, but another sound rose ahead. A faint hum. Steady and unnatural, he slowed, holding the child tighter. The tunnel walls pulsed with faint blue veins of light. The same light as the chains that once bound the child. It felt alive, as if the ruins themselves were awake. Suddenly the ground trembled. Panels in the walls opened. Drones swarmed out, small and sharp, their wings buzzing like blades. Their glowing eyes fixed on him and the child. They circled like hunters around prey. He swung his arm to shield the child. One drone dived, slashing across his shoulder. Blood splashed, pain burned, but he kept moving. He grabbed a broken pipe from the ground and swung. The drone shattered into sparks, but 10 more replaced it. The child coughed again, its body shaking. Its artificial lungs hissed. Glowing dimmer, the man's heart ached. He had to escape not just from the machines, but from this entire cursed ruin. He spotted a crack in the wall ahead. It was narrow, filled with rubble, but it was a chance. With a roar, he forced his body through, scraping skin, carrying the child close. The drone slammed against the crack but could not follow. On the other side was an open cavern. The roof was broken, and through it shone the faint silver of stars. For the first time, fresh air touched his face. He breathed deeply, feeling alive. The child, too, opened its eyes wider, its lips parting in a faint smile. But the moment of relief vanished quickly. Behind them, the machine's roars echoed louder. They had found another path. They were coming. The man staggered forward across the cavern floor. Every muscle ached, every breath heavy, but he refused to stop. He whispered to the child, "We're almost out. Don't give up." The child looked at him with weak but trusting eyes. That look gave him strength. He reached the far side of the cavern where a broken staircase rose. It led upward toward a faint glow. Perhaps the surface, perhaps freedom. He climbed step after step, his body screaming in pain. The child's weight felt heavier with each moment. But he never loosened his grip. Halfway up, a blast shook the cavern. The machines had entered. Energy beams ripped across the walls. The staircase cracked beneath him. Stone chunks fell into the darkness below. He clung tight, pulling himself upward with desperate strength. The child buried its face against his chest, trembling at the top of the stairs. A broken gate waited. Beyond it, he could see the night sky. Wide and endless, hope filled his chest. But before he could reach it, the whisper returned. The voice of the law, deep and merciless. "You cannot escape, human." "The law sees all," the man growled, his voice hoarse. "Then let it see." With one final push, he burst through the broken gate. Cold night air rushed against his face. The alien child gasped softly, the stars reflecting in its eyes. For a moment there was freedom. For a moment there was life, but behind them, The red eyes of the machines lit the cavern. Their shadows stretched into the night. The escape was not over. It had only just begun. The night sky stretched above him. Endless and cold, stars glittered like shards of ice. The human stumbled into the open fields beyond the ruins. The alien child clung weakly to his chest. Its glowing veins pulsed faintly. Its breath shallow and broken behind them. The cavern roared with the sound of machines. The hunt had begun. The ground was cracked and barren. No trees, no shelter. Only sharp rocks and long shadows. The wind howled across the empty land, carrying dust that cut the skin. The man's legs trembled with exhaustion, but he kept running, every step powered by fear and stubborn will. He knew the machines would not stop. They did not need rest, they did not need food. They would follow him until he fell. The child stirred, whispering with a voice that sounded half metal, half breath. They will not give up. They are the law's hounds. The man looked down, his heart heavy. What do they want from you? He asked softly. The child's eyes flickered with sadness. I am forbidden. I should not exist. Before the man could ask more, a sharp sound tore through the night. A red beam cut across the sky, burning the rocks beside him. The ground exploded into fire and dust. The machines had emerged from the cavern, their eyes like burning coals in the dark. The man covered the child with his body. Rolling across the ground, his ears rang from the blast, but he pushed himself back to his feet. He could not fight them here, he had to keep moving. He spotted a line of jagged cliffs ahead. If he reached them, maybe he could hide in the cracks. He ran harder, lungs burning, legs screaming. The child coughed violently, each sound sharper than a knife. The glow in its chest flickered weakly. He whispered, "Stay with me. I won't let them take you." The machines spread across the plain behind him. Their metallic voices echoed in unison. Target fleeing, human guilty. Recover the subject alive. Their steps shook the earth, their weapons glowing brighter. But the man pressed forward, refusing to look back. At the base of the cliffs, he found a narrow path. Rocks scraped his shoulders as he forced his way in. The child shivered against him, but its small hand gripped his shirt tightly. He moved deeper into the shadows, the machines followed, their red eyes glowing like torches in the dark. One of them raised its weapon, the light growing deadly bright. The man ducked into a deeper crack, heart pounding. The blast tore the rocks apart just behind him. Stone shards sliced across his arm, blood dripping, but he kept crawling, pulling the child close. Dust filled the air, choking him. Still, he pressed forward. At last, the path opened into a hidden cave. Inside, the air was damp and cool. Strange glowing moss covered the walls. It lit the chamber with soft green light. The man collapsed against the wall, gasping. The child lay in his arms, trembling. Its voice was faint. "You should leave me. The law will kill you." The man shook his head fiercely. "No, I will not abandon you." The child's eyes widened, confused. Why risk your life for me?" The man's voice cracked. "Because once, no one came for me. And I swore, if I ever could, I would not walk away again." For a moment, silence filled the cave, only the sound of his breath and the child's weak coughs. But then from outside, the metallic roar of machines shook the ground. They were closing in. Their voices echoed through the cliffs. "No escape, human, surrender now." The man stood, pressing his back against the cave wall. He scanned quickly, searching for any way out. His eyes caught a thin crack in the ceiling. Moonlight trickled through it. If he could climb, maybe he could reach the surface above. He looked at the child, so small, so fragile. He whispered, "Hold tight, we're not done yet." He began to climb, fingers scraping against sharp rock. His muscles screamed in pain. His wounded arm burned, but he pulled himself upward, dragging the child with him. Dust fell into his eyes, blinding him. The machines entered the cave below, their red eyes lighting the chamber. One of them raised its weapon, aiming directly at him. The man roared and pulled himself through the crack. The beam fired, missing him by inches. The cave below exploded in fire and stone. He rolled onto the surface, coughing. The child cried softly, its chest glowing faintly in the moonlight, but they were alive. The surface stretched before him like a broken wasteland. The machines were climbing after them. The hunt was not over, it was only getting closer. He tightened his grip on the child, his voice a whisper filled with fire. "They think they can break me. But they will have to chase me until the stars die. And with that, he ran again into the night. The machines followed, red eyes burning. The law's hunt had only just begun. The wasteland stretched on without end, broken ground, sharp stones, and endless night. The human carried the alien child close to his chest. Every step felt heavier, every breath harder. The machines were still behind them, their red eyes glowing like angry stars. But for now, there was distance, enough to move, enough to breathe. The child's chest glowed faintly with each weak breath. Its body was shivering, its voice almost gone. Still, it whispered softly, "They will never stop, human. The law does not forgive. The law does not forget." The man looked down, his face shadowed with exhaustion. "Then let them come." "I won't give you up," he answered. But in his heart, questions burned like fire. Why was the child forbidden? Why was the law so desperate to keep it chained? Why did they say preserve the subject alive? It was more than a prisoner. It was something greater, something dangerous. At last, he found a broken shelter at the edge of the cliffs. Half buried in stone, rusted from time, it looked like the remains of an old alien outpost. Inside, wires hung from the ceiling like vines. Panels flickered with faint light. Still alive after centuries, he entered carefully. Lowering the child onto a broken seat, the child coughed, its lungs hissing like broken pipes. The man quickly pulled open his bag, searching for tools. His hand shook as he built a crude device from scraps. A small mask connected to a tube and a broken filter. He pressed it gently to the child's face. "Breathe, please. Breathe," he whispered. The child inhaled, the glow in its chest steadying slightly. For a moment, silence filled the shelter. Only the faint hum of old machines and the child's slower breaths. Then the child's eyes opened wider. "You risk so much for me," it said. The man gave a tired smile. "I told you. I won't walk away." The child lowered its gaze. "I must tell you the truth," it whispered. Its voice trembled like wind through broken glass. "I am not only a prisoner. I am a secret." The man leaned closer, heart pounding. "What kind of secret?" The child's glowing eyes met his. "I was created, not born. I am half flesh. Half machine. The law forbids my kind. They call me a crime." The word struck him like a blade. He stared at the small figure in disbelief. Half machine, half flesh, an experiment. That was why the chains burned, why the law hunted the child should not exist. Yet here it was, alive, breathing. Frayed and innocent, the man clenched his fists. "So they would rather destroy you than let you live?" The child nodded slowly. "They fear what I am, they fear what I might become. If others see me, if others know, the law will break. That is why they hunt, that is why. They will kill you for helping me." The human's jaw tightened. He thought of his own past again. War, cruelty, men in power deciding who deserved to live and who deserved to die. And now this child was caught in the same cruelty. He touched the child's hand gently. "You are not a crime, you are a child. And I will protect you." Tears welled in the child's glowing eyes. No one had ever spoken to it like that before. No one had ever called it more than forbidden. For the first time it felt something strange, hope. But the moment of peace was broken. The walls of the shelter trembled. The machines were near again. Their voices echoed in the distance. Life signs detected, close in, capture. The man's eyes darted around the shelter. He spotted a broken console still faintly glowing. Perhaps it held answers. He placed the child gently down and rushed to it. His fingers danced over cracked keys. The screen flickered, showing alien symbols. Slowly, the system translated. Files opened. Glowing lines of text filled the console. He read quickly, his breath catching. The child was part of a forbidden project. The aliens had tried to merge life with machine to create something stronger, something that could survive where flesh failed. But the law, ancient and cruel, declared it abomination. Every creation was ordered destroyed, but one survived. This child, shackled, hidden, cursed. The man's heart pounded. He turned back to the child. "You are more than they fear. You are proof that they are wrong. If the galaxy sees you, everything will change." The child shook its head weakly. "They will silence us before that." "They always do." The ground shook violently, dust rained from the ceiling. The machines had reached the cliff outside. Their red eyes pierced through the cracks in the wall. Their voices thundered, "Final warning. Surrender." The man lifted the child into his arms again. His eyes burned with fire. "I will never surrender," he growled. The console behind him sparked as if listening. The screen flickered one last time. A strange code appeared, glowing bright. The man didn't understand it fully, but the child's eyes widened in shock. "That is the key," it whispered. "The key to breaking the law." The man stared at the code. Then at the child. Everything had changed. This was no longer just survival, this was war. The law feared the child not only for what it was, but for what it could reveal. And now the man held that secret in his hands. The machines roared outside, tearing the shelter apart. The man tightened his grip on the child. "We're not just running anymore," he whispered. "We're fighting back." And with the code glowing behind them, they stepped once more into the night. The hunt was not over, but now the galaxy itself was at stake. The ruins shook as the machines closed in. Their heavy steps cracked the ground. Their voices thundered. "Final warning, human. Surrender the subject." The human held the alien child close. The child's chest glowed faintly, its breathing shallow. Behind them, the broken console still glimmered with strange alien code. The code that the child called the key to breaking the law. The man's heart raced. He knew he could not fight all the machines. But he also knew he could not give up. He looked at the child's fragile face, pale and trembling. The small hand clutched at his shirt weakly. He whispered, "I promised I would not walk away, even if it cost me everything." The wall behind him cracked open. Red eyes shone through the dust. Metallic claws tore at the stone. The machines were entering. The man searched the shelter frantically. His eyes fell on broken pipes, shattered panels, and a damaged air tank. An idea sparked in his mind. "Dangerous, but the only chance," the child coughed, its voice shaking. "My lungs are failing. I cannot run anymore." The man dropped to his knees. Working with trembling hands, he connected wires to the broken tank. He pulled the mask he had made earlier. This time he attached it to the tank. He gave the last of the oxygen to the child. The hiss of air filled the mask. The child gasped, its glow brightening slightly. The man, however, had no air left for himself. He pressed a hand against his chest. His breath shallow, but he smiled faintly. "As long as you breathe, I can go without." The child's eyes widened in shock. You will die." The man shook his head. "Not yet. Not if I can keep moving." The machines broke through the wall, their weapons glowing. The man grabbed a piece of metal pipe and swung with all his strength. Sparks flew as he struck the first machine. It stumbled but did not fall. Another raised its weapon. The man turned, shielding the child with his body. The beam struck his shoulder, burning flesh and cloth. He cried out in pain but refused to let go. With desperate strength, he pushed through the hole they had made. Stones crumbled under his feet. He ran out into the open night once more. The stars above seemed colder, sharper. The child whispered, tears glowing in its eyes. "You gave me your air, your life. Why would you do this?" The man's voice was hoarse but strong. "Because you deserve to live, because no child should die chained. Because I remember what it was like to wait for someone who never came." The words sank deep into the child's heart. No one had ever spoken of its worth before. No one had ever chosen it over their own survival. For the first time, the child felt not like an experiment, not like a crime, but like a life that mattered. The machines followed, their steps shaking the ground. The human stumbled, weaker without air. His chest burned, his body screamed. Still, he carried the child, each step a battle, each breath a sacrifice. They reached another cliff. High and jagged, below was a dark river, its waters rushing fast. The machines cornered them, red eyes glowing brighter. "End of path. Surrender," they commanded. The man looked down at the river, then at the child. If they stayed, they would both be taken. If they jumped, maybe one of them could live. The man's body shook with weakness. He could barely stand, but his arms tightened around the child. He whispered softly, "Whatever happens, you must live. Promise me you will live." The child's tears flowed. "I cannot without you." The man gave a weak smile. "Yes, you can. You are stronger than you know." The machines raised their weapons. The man made his choice with his last strength. He leapt from the cliff. The wind roared in his ears. The river rushed closer. He held the child high above the water. "Live," he whispered before they struck the current. The river swallowed them, pulling them into darkness. The machines above scanned the waters, their red eyes burning. But the human and the child were gone, carried away by the current. The child clung to him tightly under the rushing waves. Its mask hissed with oxygen, but his breaths were failing. His body grew heavier, his vision dim. Yet his arms never let go of the child, even as the darkness closed in. The river carried them far from the machines, far into the unknown. At last the child pulled them onto the muddy shore, its small hands trembling as it dragged him from the water. The man lay pale and weak, gasping. The child shook him, tears streaming. "You cannot leave me, not after everything." "You cannot." The man forced his eyes open. His voice was barely a whisper. "As long as you breathe, I have done my part." Then his head sank back, his chest rising shallowly. The child pressed the mask against his face, but there was no air left. Its own lungs hissed, its own glow dimmed. But it pressed closer, sharing the mask, sharing what little remained. The night was silent except for the river. The man's life hung by a thread. The child's tears fell onto his chest, glowing like stars in that moment. The child understood the truth. The law was cruel, but the human was not. And sometimes, one sacrifice could change everything. The hunt was not over. The law would come again, but tonight, the human had proven something, that even hopeless men could fight, that even in darkness there could be light. And the child swore through tears and pain. It would not let his sacrifice be in vain. The night was heavy with silence. The river whispered as it carried fragments of broken stone downstream. On the muddy shore, the human lay pale and still. His chest rose weakly, each breath a struggle. Beside him, the alien child crouched, eyes glowing faintly with sorrow. Its small hands pressed against his chest as if to will his heart to keep beating. The child whispered, "You gave me your breath, your strength, your hope." Tears shimmered down its cheeks, glowing softly in the darkness. The man's eyes flickered open, dim but still alive. He forced a faint smile. "I told you. I would not walk away, but there was no safety. Not yet." From the cliffs above, the machines still searched, their red eyes scanning the land. Their voices echoed like thunder. The subject must be recovered. The human must be punished. The law was still watching. The law was still hunting. The child looked down at the faint glow of the alien code, the code it had memorized before they fled the shelter. It pulsed faintly in its mind. The key to breaking the law, but to use it, they needed to show the truth to the galaxy. If no one saw, the law would remain unbroken. If no one heard, the sacrifice would be for nothing. The human coughed, his voice weak but sharp. "They want silence, but we can speak, we can show them." The child nodded slowly. "Yes, but if we do, they will find us faster. They will destroy us." The man's tired eyes met the child's. "Then let them come. The galaxy will know before they strike." The child closed its eyes. Its half-machine veins pulsed with faint light. It reached into the code with its mind. Symbols and signals rushed like fire through its body. For a moment, its chest glowed bright as the stars. It sent the message, not just a cry for help, but an image of truth, the human carrying a forbidden child, the chains that bound it, the mercy that freed it, the cruelty of the law. It traveled across the night sky, across hidden channels, until it reached the eyes and ears of countless worlds. Billions saw it. Some gasped in horror. Some wept. Some grew angry. And for the first time, voices rose against the law. The ancient silence cracked. The galaxy whispered, "This is wrong." On the shore, the child collapsed weakly. The message had drained its strength. The human caught it, holding it close. "You did it," he whispered. "They will know." The child's faint reply trembled. "But the law will come." And it did, from the shadows of the cliffs. The machines descended like wolves. Their weapons glowed red. Their voices thundered. "Violation complete. Execution required." The ground shook beneath their steps. The human stood, though his body was broken and weak. He pulled the child behind him. His arms spread wide. "If you want the child, you will have to go through me." The machines aimed their weapons. The child cried, "You cannot fight them. You will die." The man's voice was steady. "Then I will die standing, not kneeling." The first blast fired. The man grabbed a broken shield from the riverbank. The beam struck, shattering the shield, but not his resolve. He staggered back, coughing blood, but still he stood. Another blast came. He blocked with his body. Pain seared through him, yet his eyes burned with fire, defiance. The machines stepped closer, their claws raised, their shadows covering him. But before they struck, the sky itself lit up. Dozens of ships appeared above. Not the law's ships, but vessels from distant worlds. They had seen the broadcast. They had come, voices rang from the skies. Stand down, enforcers of the law the galaxy has seen. The galaxy has judged for the first time. The machines hesitated. Their red eyes flickered uncertainly. The law's command trembled against the rising voices of billions. The child clung to the man, tears streaming. You gave them the truth. You gave them me. The human looked down, his voice weak but unbroken. No, we gave them hope. The machines growled, their bodies shaking. But the stars above blazed with resistance. The law could no longer silence what had been seen. The human's body sagged, his strength fading, but he smiled faintly. Even if I fall, you will live, you will carry the fire, the child sobbed, holding him tightly. I will, I promise. The machines raised their weapons one last time, but the ships above fired beams of light. The ground shook, fire lit the night. The enforcers of the law fell one by one, their red eyes dimmed. Silence returned, not the silence of fear, but the silence of change. The human collapsed to his knees. The child held him, its glow flickering. The stars above shone brighter than ever, and in that moment the galaxy shifted. The law had been defied. The truth had been born. The human whispered one final time, remember, you are not forbidden, you are free. The child's tears fell like light across his face. It nodded, voice trembling. I will remember. I will make them remember too. The night closed in around them. But this time it was not hopeless. It was the beginning of something greater. A defiance that no chain, no law, no shadow could ever break again.